First of all, Joe Manley. He comes off an impressive win over Howard Davis Jr., and certainly a win which he hopes to use as a springboard for tonight's fight.
Well, that Howard Davis fight, that was back in February. Many people felt that Howard Davis was in the best condition of his career. He really was in super shape that fight. And Howard, he's fought for the title a few times, a former Olympic champion back in 1976, one of the fastest fighters in the world on his feet with his hands. Joe Manley had to do one thing. He had to put the pressure on Howard Davis. And if there's any one knock on Joe Manley, Bruce, it's that he's kind of a lazy fighter. He lays back a little bit too much. That fight he didn't. He jumped on Davis in the opening bell. He hit him with body shots. He knocked him down twice with hooks. He never looked better. He won the fight. It did a lot for his confidence.
What about Gary Hinton now? He comes off the win over Reyes Cruz, who was an outstanding fighter, and he won the vacant title. And tonight he looks to defend it against the guy who, the last time he fought him, well, they waged a war, which ended up in a draw. But what about the impressive win for Gary Hinton? What does that mean to his career?
Gary Hinton, that fight to him did a lot for his ego and for his confidence, just the way that Manley, his confidence was built up by beating Howard Davis Jr. It's just something, when you fight for the world championship and you win it, Gary Hinton no longer feels like a contender. He feels like he's the best 140-pound fighter in the world, and he intends to show everybody tonight just how good he really is.
Well, one thing you have to think about is that Manley is hungry, and he's coming back as a stronger fighter. His manager, Stan Hoffman, said earlier today, this guy is 20% to 30% stronger than he was in August of '85. Do you believe that?
Well, I think he just might be, because he went to Josephine Abercrombie's ranch down in Houston, Texas, and he did some heavy training, chopping wood and many other things. I think you will see a stronger Joe Manley.
What about the way this fight might unfold now tonight? Who do you expect to dictate the tempo?
I think Manley will be putting on more pressure. He remembers what he did against Howard Davis. He says to himself, hey, that was the one time I really turned on the pressure, put the pressure on a boxer, and I beat him. If I do the same thing to Gary Hinton, and I almost had him a year ago, if I put that pressure on, tonight I'll be world champ.
There were cramps very much a part of that last fight. Joe Manley got cramps in the 10th or the 11th round. He wasn't sure exactly when it occurred. He finished the fight practically hopping on one leg. He has been taking a lot of potassium. He is very concerned about not getting leg cramps again, and he thinks that he's controlled that and got it under control tonight.
Well, he had to go to a doctor. They didn't know what was wrong. They found that his body has a lack of potassium. He's built up on that. Both guys are in the best shape of their professional careers.
There's a look at Willie Pep, the former world featherweight champion, won more fights than any other professional, 29 years. Let's try to get a hold of Willie Pep and talk to a man who is a legend. Manley and Gary Hinton. There's a look at Gary Hinton, the IBF junior welterweight champion. He won the title in April of 1986 with a 15-round decision over Reyes Cruz. The #1 contender for the IBF junior welterweight division is Joe Manley. There's a look at Joe Manley, whose record of 25-3-1 is impressive, coming off wins in 1986 over Howard Davis Jr. and Sammy Young. This a rematch of the bout of August 23rd, 1985 in Atlantic City that ended up in a 12-round draw. We'll be back for the Manley-Hinton affair, and you're watching professional boxing from Hartford, Connecticut.
You're the champion. And then the IBF came up with a title fight. The WBC did, the WBA did. And that man there, Gary Hinton, wound up winning the IBF title. He's also the answer to a trivia question. Who was the last man to fight Aaron Pryor in a professional fight? They went 15 rounds. And he dropped a split decision to Pryor.
Well, from 1978 to 84, he fought in relative obscurity, while people like Bumpus and Aaron Pryor basked in the glory of the junior welterweight division. Now Gary Hinton's turn, and he is angry. He really wants to retain his crown. Joe Manley, more aggressive than the previous bout, is the way he is approaching this fight with Gary Hinton. He wants to get to the body early while he's good and strong. And one of the other things in the last fight, Manley threw some good punches and had Hinton against the ropes, but there wasn't that combination, there wasn't that flurry of punches, something you need to get Gary Hinton to hit the canvas.
Well, one of the toughest things in the world to do, just like it was a tough thing to get Willie Pep against the ropes, and it was a tough thing getting him over here. He's still got that footwork, but Gary Hinton is the same way, a very elusive fighter. He doesn't run. He's just very, very fast, and he stands on the outside, and he gives you angles that you've never seen before. It's very tough for an opponent to get in the ring against Mr. Hinton, who outside the ring is a first tenor. What a good voice he's got.
Rules will be a little bit different for this IBF title fight.
Right, here in the state of Connecticut, the scoring is done on a 10-point must system. The two referees, the referee does the scoring, and the two judges do the scoring in the state of Connecticut. But this is the IBF title fight. It is a 10-point must system. There is no standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule has been waived. And in case of a butt bruise, a head butt, and one guy gets opened up, 6 rounds have to be complete. If the 6 rounds are not complete, it's called a technical draw. If 6 rounds are complete, well, then they go to the scorecards, and the guy who's leading is the winner of the fight. And the scoring is done by 3 officials. The referee is a non-scoring official. He has his work cut out for him anyway. He's got to take charge in the ring.
All right, let's go up right now to our ring announcer, Bob Steele, for the introductions.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Novera Seeds and Cedric Kushner present the IBF Junior Welterweight Championship. And by the way, the Junior Welterweight limit is 140 pounds. Introducing at 138.5 pounds, with a record of 25 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, from Detroit, Joe Louis Manley. His opponent, wearing white trunks, weight 139 pounds, record 25 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, from Philadelphia, the champion Gary Hinton. Rounds. Timekeeper, Jack LaSalle. Counting for the knockdowns for the bell, referee, Sal Maltempo.
Sal Maltempo is the 3rd man in the ring.
The man remaining standing on the first neutral corner, and they're going to be saved by the bell in the last round. Now give me a good clean fight, and good luck to both of you.
Gary Hinton, the man who has the belt and wants to retain it. Round number 1, scheduled for 15. Joe Manley with the short white trunks and the yellow trim, and Gary Hinton in the long white trunks with the black trim, and the Hinton neatly etched across the front. Both fighters coming into this fight in superb condition. They focused on it for 4 weeks. That's the immediate training. But going into that time period, both Hinton and Manley admitted that they were in good shape to start with.
What could very well be the factor in this fight is the training Joe Manley put in at promoter Josephine Abercrombie's ranch down in Houston, Texas. Josephine, the president of the Houston Boxing Association, allowed Joe Manley to go down there and train. And I mean, he cut wood, he chopped trees, he did his normal sparring, he hit the heavy bag, speed bag, jump rope, ran in the hills, did just about everything. And they say he's stronger than he's ever been. That could be the deciding factor in this fight.
A couple of important facts. Hinton is 30, Manley 27. Hinton 5'9", Manley is 5'8".
Very close physically. Both have 29-inch reaches. You take their jabbing arm. Even. They match up close in a lot of aspects. 25-3-2 record.
Good movement there by Hinton, scoring with the combination and getting out of trouble.
25-3-2 for Hinton, 25-3-1 for Manley.
Hinton is the southpaw. Manley, the orthodox fighter. Good body blow by Manley. Solid body blow.
See, he's doing exactly what he did with Howard Davis Jr. Starting off the fight, drilling those body shots. Those shots are the ones that stay with you for later on. A fighter shakes the head shots off. The body shots stay with him. Low shots, 2 low shots from Hinton. Might have been another low shot.
Sal Maltempo warning Hinton about the low blows. Manley buzzing away with that busy jab.
Both have busy jabs, especially Hinton, who has not got it on track yet.
Solid left hand to the body by Hinton.
Solid right hand.
There was a good left hand by Manley to the head.
And just before that, there was a solid right hand.
And then Manley is warned for a low blow, so both fighters have been warned in this first round for throwing low blows. Winding down in the first round. Well, they talk about feeling out first rounds. That one was pretty good action.
Well, the first fight started like this. There was no feeling out. These guys went at each other, and in their first fight, it started like this, and then it got better and better as the rounds went on. You're looking into the corner of the champ of the world, according to the IBF, the International Boxing Federation. Gary, the Executioner Hinton, calls himself the Executioner, not because, as Marvin Gordon, his manager, says he chops anybody's head off, because he executes so perfectly in there with his footwork, with his hand speed, and I think you'll enjoy watching him fight tonight.
There's Joe Manley, 1980 Olympic trial winner for the United States. With the boycott of Moscow, the 80 games, was unable to compete in Olympic competition. Many of the other Olympic champions, such as Donald Curry, Johnny Bumpus, Leroy Murphy, Richard Sandoval, went on to win world titles, and now Manley hopes to join that group. Second round, once again, scoring is done on a 10-point must system.
Remember, this is 15 rounds. This is the way I like a title fight. 15 rounds. I don't believe in that 12-round distance. It's okay for USBA and NABF and so forth, but I think for a world title, give me 15 rounds anytime. Most of the champions will tell you they like the 15-round distance also.
Manley with a good left hand, and Hinton was backing up.
I'm not sure if Hinton got hurt or he just twisted his ankle, because he staggered for a moment.
Again, a low blow by Manley, and another warning from Sal Maltempo.
In their professional careers, Gary Hinton has boxed 217 rounds. Manley, 209 rounds.
And down goes Hinton. No question about that one, whether he was hurt or not. Hinton getting the mandatory 8 count. Manley going after Hinton early. Pummeling Hinton. Round number 2. Manley. Combinations. Great right hand. Going to the body now. Hinton staying in there, hanging tough.
Oh, is Hinton in trouble?
Less than 1:30 to go in the second round.
You're seeing we talk about the strength that working down in Houston did for Joe Manley. You're seeing it now in a tremendous punching power. This is a different Joe Manley.
Hinton just hanging on, trying to get some energy from somewhere. Sneaking in the uppercut was Manley. This is just the second round. Still 50 seconds to go. And Hinton getting some fire back, starting to the stomach.
Gary Hinton calling on that Philadelphia heart. Guys from Philly nobody likes getting knocked out, but guys from Philly are extra tough. They don't like going back to the streets of Philly.
Hinton coming back.
Hinton launched his own counter shot and caught Manley unaware.
Hinton is on a roll now, landing the jab.
You know, when he was knocked down early in the round, he was virtually out of it. You talk about condition. That's what brought Hinton right back. He's still in bad shape. If he gets hit with a solid shot,
He's still ducking and bobbing and weaving in the corner. Manley again putting the pressure on, but Hinton will survive the round. A terrific round for Joe Manley, but somehow Gary Hinton survived. And you have to wonder if Manley's saying to himself, hey, you don't want to punch yourself out early. He went after him. He went after him and tried to finish it.
When you've got the world title in the palm of your hands, as he did, he had that man. He had the champ on the floor. He had him in bad shape. You don't stand there and pick your shots. You go after him. You jump on him. You throw punches. You get him out of there. Manley tried, but that's why Hinton is a champ. You saw the shot, and just about 30 seconds earlier, he was nailed with a shot and hurt, and we caught it. And there, flat on his back, and when he got up, I mean, he rolled over. His legs were doing a Mr. Bojangles.
Joe Manley, managed by Stan Hoffman and Bob Middleman, trained by Bill Miller and Luther Burgess. Gary Hinton, managed by Marvin Gordon and trained by Frank Taylor. Round number 3. Manley recording the first knockdown of the fight in the second. This one's scheduled for 15 for the IBF Junior Welterweight title.
Gary Hinton's got to be happy with himself. The adrenaline's got to be flowing after that. Forget the fact he got knocked down. He went back to his corner and he said, this guy hit me with his best shot. Now what?
A lot of redness in the right eye of Gary Hinton. Does Hinton have to go back to his jab now? Does he have to start getting himself going again, build a flow?
Absolutely. That's his major weapon, Bruce. If he stays away from using that jab, if he keeps it in his, so to speak, his back pocket, he's not going to win this fight. If he uses it, he can retain the title. It's all what he does with the jab. That was a nice right hand to the body by Manley. He got warned again by the referee to make the shots up. I don't know, from this angle, it looked like a real clean shot.
Not much landing here in the third round.
Stan Hoffman, one of the co-managers of Joe Manley, is also the manager of streaking middleweight, undefeated Michael Olajide Jr. out of New York City.
Manley landing the right hand. Manley showing a lot of patience.
Well, that's actually been one of his problems. We talked earlier about Marlon Starling being his own worst enemy. Joe Manley has been his own worst enemy by not turning on the pressure. He's always been in good shape, but he lays back too much.
Do you think he went after Hinton as much as he possibly could to try to finish him in the second?
I think he tried, but let's take nothing away from Hinton. Hinton is an outstanding fighter.
And Hinton just landed a straight left hand. There is swelling now right above the right eye of Joe Manley.
And that's courtesy of that straight left hand from Gary Hinton. It keeps landing around the right eye.
Ooh, a crunching little left uppercut by Manley. It was a funny punch. It was almost a hook.
It was more of a hook, right? It was like a hook born of an uppercut. That's the punch he dropped Howard Davis Jr. twice with, and it has steam in it.
Does he look stronger to you, Manley?
Physically, he looks like he always was, just in real fine shape. But his punching power tells me that he is a stronger fighter.
We'll be back with more from the Hartford Civic Center. He doesn't feel he gets the recognition he deserves. He feels that his paydays aren't as big as they should be. But he talked about anger in an interesting way. He said, I don't want the anger to make me crazy. I'm using it to work harder and correct my mistakes.
Well, some people let anger make them crazy. They could run around for 2 years or so, or 3 years, and just let it get to them. You've got to control the anger. Let it work for you. Make you a better person. Make you a better fighter. Whatever you do.
Hinton landing the jab. Hinton with a lot of experience, trying to get back on his game plan for tonight.
Joe Manley hunting down Gary Hinton, but he's got to be careful because Hinton's got his jab on track now, and he's got those fast hands and those combinations, which he is landing.
Here is a solid body blow employed by Hinton.
Low shot. Left hand by Manley.
Close.
It looked like it landed on a black waistband. Hinton now knows he's got to use this 22-foot ring,
And he's starting to use it.
he can't stand in front of Manley, and he is, as we talked about earlier, giving the angle. He's not walking straight in. He comes in and then he ducks. He slides off one way, he slides the other way, up and down, in and out.
Hinton beginning to land the jab. And Manley not throwing that jab and not landing as often as he was in the early going. And everything worked off the jab for both these fighters who are far from crunchers.
Well, Joe Manley tonight appears to be a cruncher. And if you notice, every time he's landing his left hook, Gary Hinton is wearing a very pained expression, which tells me that Joe Manley has finally become a harder, more solid hitter. You know, Bruce, a lot of guys start to learn leverage, and they get power later on. In the amateurs, Tommy Hearns knocked out something like only 12 men in over 100 fights. You know how great Tommy Hearns is as a puncher anyway.
Landing effectively is Manley now.
Nice body shot.
Ooh, good straight left hand now by Gary Hinton. You're watching professional boxing from Hartford, Connecticut. Words of wisdom at the end of the round. At any time Hinton comes after you with the jab, go right back for him to the body. Right hand to the body.
Well, they want Manley to use both hands, and there's several schools of thought how to fight a southpaw. There is no one way. A lot of times you'll hear people say, fight him with the right hand. Well, that could be one way. Another way is to throw the left hook to the body, and that's basically what the corner of Manley wants. When that right jab comes out, bend down, step in, and drive that hook to the body. And because it's such apparently a hard hook tonight, if he cracks the ribs with that hard hook, Hinton has shown he could be hurt.
Good left hand by Hinton.
Well, Joe Manley is fighting his fight. He's doing very well, but when he lays back and allows Gary Hinton to use the ring, to use his hand speed, to use his foot speed, then it becomes a different story. And that's what makes this so interesting, that we're looking down the road at 15 rounds.
It's exactly what Luther Burgess, one of the trainers for Manley, said this afternoon. Must be more aggressive than that previous bout. Here's Manley now, trying to put together a combination.
See what happened there? Hinton stepped in with about 3-4 shots, and then Manley said to himself, I'm not going to let you get away with that. And he came back with a combo of his own. But Hinton is starting to step up the pace.
Manley has lost 3 times to Harry Arroyo, Gene Hatcher, and Ronnie Shields. Hinton has lost to Charles Brown, Curtis Harris, and Aaron Pryor.
You're talking about when these guys lose, they lose to world-class fighters. Harry Arroyo was a world champ. Gene Hatcher was a world champ. Ronnie Shields still a contender.
That was a crunching straight left hand by Hinton.
Aaron Pryor, of course, you're talking greatness.
Low blow by Hinton, warned by Maltempo. Both fighters have been going low repeatedly in this fight. Warnings have been there. No points have been taken off either fighter's card. 45 seconds to go in round number 5.
Hinton's trying to unload with that left hand.
That was a right hook by Hinton that did land after he had missed repeatedly with the straight left. Hinton is missing a lot more than Manley. He is sweeping with his hands. He is swinging wildly instead of trying to punch.
Well, Manley never throws all that many shots. He's more of of a sharpshooter. He picks his shots.
One-third of the way complete. 5 of the scheduled 15 in the book. There's a look in the corner of Gary Hinton.
Oh, Bruce, in the second round, Gary Hinton was having his title belt removed from his waist when he hit the deck. But Joe Manley allowed him to put it back on because I gave the last 2 rounds of this fight to Gary Hinton. I think his faster hands, despite the fact he's missing a lot of shots, he is still landing a lot of shots. That's the thing about throwing a lot of punches. You'll miss and you'll land.
Touch him in the body with the just there. I'll take over this round. This is banged up. Bang him up on this round.
That was the voice of Bill Miller telling Manley to mix things up. In December of 1981, when he turned pro, Stan Hoffman, the manager for Joe Manley, had a 5-year plan. Said, we'll be champion of the world in 5 years. Well, it is 5 years later tonight, and here they are, with Joe Manley looking for the IBF Junior Welterweight title.
Stan, who's a businessman, owns a record company, Prelude Savoy. In every business, they say it should take about 5 years. Have that 5-year plan. And with a fighter, it's the same thing. And that's exactly what Manley and his company did. Hoffman and Middleman.
Manley didn't want to go to 5 years. He wanted to win that title on any given night.
Well, every fighter is kind of in a rush, but the managers, that's where they got to pull the reins back a little bit. Manager Stan Hoffman, about 2 years ago, grew a beard. And Joe Manley went up to him and said, Stan, get the beard off. I don't like it. Stan Hoffman said, tell you what, the day you win the title, I will shave that night. Could be that he'll be shaving tonight.
There's the start of battle scars on the faces of both fighters. Hinton above the right eye, swelling, redness, and redness in the eye. As far as Manley is concerned, puffiness underneath the left eye and underneath the right eye.
Well, they've got 2 exceptional corners. They got one of the best cut men in the corner of Gary Hinton. Now close the cut Citro. The man with the computer, the man who does so many of the records. The fight world turns to him when it comes to records.
Manley landing as Hinton tried to get in. And then Hinton very craftily landing the straight left hand.
These guys planting their feet in front of each other, not using any of the real estate in that ring. They're looking to get it over. Both of them right now with single shots.
Toe-to-toe action. Hinton really landed the better of it. Let's just watch here and enjoy for a moment. Turn, then Hinton's turn, then Manley's turn, then Hinton's turn.
The hardest shots are being landed by Manley. I believe it's Gary Hinton who is starting to take over. He's throwing more punches. He's landing more punches.
We'll be back with more from the Hartford Civic Center. The Hartford Civic Center. We are in round number 7. This one's scheduled for 15 for the IBF Junior Welterweight title. The bout between Joe Manley, the #1 contender, and Gary Hinton, the defending champion. Randy Gordon, how do you have it scored so far in this 10-point Muff System scoring?
57-56 for the challenger, Joseph Louis Manley.
I have it 58-57, Manley. How do you have it scored at home? It certainly is close.
And in that second round, when Gary Hinton hits the deck, I scored it 10-8. Some of you more generous judges at home might have even had it 10-7. I believe I could have easily had it that that way, too. I think on the 10-point luck system, you have the points, why not use them?
Joe Louis Manley Jr. got the nickname Joe Louis from his grandmother when he was born. She was a big fan of Joe Louis.
Sure it wasn't Max Schnellman.
No, it wasn't. Manley is being more selective with his blows. Hinton is warned by Maltempo once again to keep the blows up.
See, I don't know. Again, that looked like a clean shot. Right here, we're starting to see Gary Hinton use the real estate in a 22-foot ring.
Nice combination, Manley.
I've given Hinton the last 3 rounds of the fight. But so far this round, it's been Manley. It's been backing up Gary Hinton, a champion. Has he been putting the pressure on? Has he been the effective aggressor?
Manley's been waiting for this fight for a long time. Said he could hardly sleep last night thinking about it.
Same with me. I couldn't sleep either. See, I saw the first fight. That's why. And I knew this one would be even better. A lot of times rematches don't live up to that first fight. But these guys, although they were in great condition last time, I know how they've trained for this one. They have dedicated their whole careers, their whole being to tonight.
Action slowing down just a bit in the 7th round as it draws to a close. Joe Manley. Look at the eyes of Manley. Very intense, but he doesn't look worried or panicked at all. Let's try to pick up his corner.
You can make him give it up. He's that pressure. He's fading. He's fading. He's fading. He's fading. He's tired. You can make him give it up. Do what Luther said. Joe, do what Luther said. One shot. Right hand, left hook. You never miss him with it. Put them two together. Not just one shot. Get that right hand. Back to left. Look here. Look on the left. When you get through doing what you're doing, put your hands out and go right back there.
The corner of Gary Hinton.
All right. Step around. Working that now. As soon as you get close to it, start now and bring some up to you.
Moving to the 8th round. This IBF junior welterweight picture was set up like this. Cruz was ranked number 1, Hinton 2, Howard Davis Jr. 3, and Manley 4. Hinton beat Cruz, becomes the champion. Cruz drops out of the top 4, and then Manley beats Davis and becomes the number 1 contender. Hence tonight's title fight between Hinton, the defending champion, and Manley, the number 1 contender. Round number 8. Hinton in the white trunks, the long white trunks with the black trim. And Joe Manley in the short white trunks with the yellow trim. And a great combination by Joe Manley. And his corner told him between rounds to go after Hinton, that he was tiring. I don't know if that was just to motivate him.
No, they believe that he can get Hinton out of there. They see Hinton weakening a little bit, and they want him to throw the right hand, left hook. They want him throwing a lot of combinations. I think it's going to take a lot to stop Hinton here. Maybe there'll be a knockout later on, but Gary Hinton is still fresh. He's still got that title belt in his mind anyway, wrapped tightly around his waist. He won't give it up without a fight. Then he comes right back. You heard him? He just fights down on the mouthpiece, sucks it up, and comes back with shots.
Manley putting together a combination. Pushing Hinton away, showing newfound strength.
World titles, world championships do something to a man. They make him feel like a champion. When a man feels like a champ in any walk of life, he's tough to beat. You know, it's attitude. The whole thing is attitude.
Gary Hinton said earlier today, I'm prepared to go 15 hard rounds.
15-round route on 2 occasions.
Hinton, who has paid his dues in places like Philadelphia's Blue Horizon, became a champion, and he's not going to back down. And he's coming alive here with the right hand. And the straight left, and all of a sudden, Gary Hinton taking it to Joe Manley. Inside of 40 seconds to go in the 8th round.
Well, early in the round, Gary Hinton was the one in danger of falling down. Now he comes back. That's that heart of the champion. That's what the title does to a man.
Hinton with a sweeping left. He's looking for the one-punch knockout now.
Well, we know what kind of heart Gary Hinton has.
Manley's just hugging, trying to get out of this round with 9 seconds to go. Hinton unloading. And so Gary Hinton with Manley holding on for survival. Takes over in the 8th round. His best round of the fight.
The eyes of Joseph Louis Manley not focusing too well. And let's see if in the next 30, 40 seconds he can recover.
It was a strange round because Manley came out. His corner told him he could take care of Hinton. They got off to a good start in the first minute, and then all of a sudden, Hinton put together a couple of devastating combinations, and Manley was fighting to survive.
What happens here? Those normally high-held hands of Joe Manley. He was off balance there, and as he reset, he got nailed with a shot. He threw a shot and then took one on the side of the head. I believe it caught him around the ear, which got his equilibrium off, and he was in trouble for about 30 seconds. Let's watch. He falls off balance. He took a right uppercut. That was it right there. That left hook on the top of the head. It landed up. That left hand landed around the right eye.
Manley had the big round in the 2nd. And now Hinton with the big round in the 8th.
Hinton has been sent out to seek and destroy. Every shot he throws is going to try to knock Joe Manley out.
Hinton is landing more efficiently than he did in the first 5 rounds.
Gary Hinton is really showing something to the fans tonight. Down in the 2nd round and in such big trouble, he has come on like a champ. Whether he wins or loses tonight, I think he's going to make a lot of fans. He wanted that respect. He's getting it tonight.
And he's putting more power in each of his blows right now.
There are 2 other champions out there. The WBA champion is Patricio Oliva from Italy, and the WBC champion is Koyoshi Hamada, a very hard little swarming puncher from Japan. I don't think either one of these guys could stay in the ring with Gary Hinton or Joe Manley.
The winner will have to spell each of their names if he wants a shot at those titles. Here's Manley now, all of a sudden coming back. Now, this is what we expected. We talked about toe-to-toe. We talked about swings of momentum.
Manley cranking up a little bit too much on that right hand. He might have landed it had he not just cocked it a little bit too much. Hinton leaning down, just gripping the canvas with his toes, trying to get maximum power. Hinton a little bit too anxious, and he's missing now with his shot. Missed with a left uppercut, missed with a right hook.
Manley landed the jab to the head. A little over a minute to go in this round tonight.
Hinton looking for the left hand, the straight left hand to end it. Manley looking for either the left hook or the right cross.
Hinton has the eyes of the stalker, the eyes that Manley had earlier. For the first time in the fight, Manley is being backed around a little bit instead of pushing Hinton into the corner where he wants him or against the ropes. Look at Hinton now, leaning on Manley, forcing the tempo of the fight. Manley landing a solid left hook.
How much punishment can both men take? They have taken each other's best shot.
And we've talked so much about the punching power. What about the chins? Absolutely. Both fighters showing not only a chin, but a willingness to continue. You're watching professional boxing from Hartford, Connecticut. one is turning into a war. One knockdown in the fight recorded by Joe Manley in round number 2. Gary Hinton did have Manley rock one round, and that was in the 8th.
For a good portion of that 8th round, he had Joe Manley looking like a man who had come out of a bar late at night after too many drinks.
Now Manley is starting to throw the jab. What he's got to do.
Round 9 was a very close round with Gary Hinton starting fast. Then the middle part of the round, both guys were on an even keel, but Joe Manley came on strong, and he rocked Hinton at the end of the round.
Manley landing the right and getting out of trouble. Manley coming alive.
Left hook hurt Gary Hinton. He's in big trouble now.
Ooh, a crunchy right hand. Hinton is rocking. The knees are wobbling. And Manley is all over him. Hinton has come back before. Can he do it again?
Why is Joe Manley laying back now? He's got Hinton in bad shape.
Manley landing with the right. Hinton is in a daze.
Hinton is taking some terrific punishment. Manley loading up, but laying back. Look how many seconds are just going by. You almost frustrated. You want to push Manley in.
Hinton has nothing right now. He's not throwing punches. He's taking an awful lot.
And Hinton, again, showing that tremendous heart.
Absolutely. There he goes. Manley landing the right hand, and Hinton may not get up from this one. Let's see.
He's got that heart. He's trying. The head should get up. The legs, the body don't want to get up.
9, that is it. Joe Manley has won the IBF Junior Welterweight title with a knockout in round number 10. It was a seesaw fight. But Joe Manley, Joe Prime, has the title.
There were some terrific punches, power punches landed by Joseph Louis Manley in that 10th and what was the final round. There we saw combinations send Gary Hinton, the champion, against the rope, crashing down to the floor. He tried at about the count of 6 to get up, but his body just would not respond. You see manager Stan Hoffman, who tonight has to remove the beard. He promised Manley. Let's see if he lives up to his word.
Joe Manley, who was in deep trouble in the 8th round, came back to fight an even round basically in the 9th, and then in the 10th, knocking out Gary Hinton. He had him in deep trouble from the beginning of the round on, and this time he finished him off. There was no mercy.
You saw that right hand to the chin. And about 30 seconds earlier, it was just a blistering series of shots from Joe Manley, the new champ.
It was sheer courage on the part of Gary Hinton as he tried to survive.
This is Josephine Abercrombie, the head of the Houston Boxing Association, with a hug from the guy who trained down at her gym in Houston, Texas. Does that lady love boxing or what?
Joe Manley will now wear the IBF Junior Welterweight belt, and he earned it. He fought Gary Hinton to a draw last August. Since then, he's recorded wins over Frank Montgomery, Howard Davis Jr., and Sammy Young. Everything pointed to this fight, and he made the most of his opportunity. We'll be back to talk to the new champion, Joe Manley, as he wins the IBF Junior Welterweight title tonight in Hartford. We'll be back in a moment. As he stops Gary Hinton in the 10th round in Hartford. Randy Gordon is in the ring with our winner, Joe Manley.
Hey, Joe, no, come here, Joe.
Pandemonium in the ring. It's New Year's Eve in the ring in Hartford, Connecticut. The new champion, Joseph Louis Manley, is just being mocked. Joe, I have stood with you before. I have watched you. You could have been on the Olympic team in 1980. Unfortunately, the United States never went. Tonight, you have become a world champion. Can you believe it?
Thank God Almighty. All praise due to God. Gave me Stan Hoffman, the guy to stick by me when nobody else would. Loved me more than most people in my family did. Stick by me and said, Joe gonna be champ. And I told him I'd be champ today on top of the world.
You did it in the 10th round.
He hit me with a good shot, winning the round.
Well,
no.
In the second round,
You know what I thought about?
You
Joe
dropped
Frazier,
him.
Muhammad Ali. Joe Frazier got hit good. He got hurt. He kept fighting. I'm be just like him.
you landed some tremendous punches throughout the fight. We're going to take a look at some action of your championship-winning victory. I'm sure this is going to be a fight you're going to watch over and over again. First round, tell us. They're bringing in his son as you see Gary Hinton going down. A tremendous series of blows culminating with the right hand. And right here, introduces this guy?
Jamal Stanley, man. I named him after my manager, Stan Hoffman.
Okay, it was in
I told him I'd be champ too before I left home, didn't I, baby?
It was in the second round. You knocked him down. He rolled over. He was in big trouble. Did you think you had him there?
I thought I had him. But Gary's a real good fighter. You know, I respected Gary coming into the fight. I have no qualms with Gary. It's his manager, Tissy Gordon. The guy been messing with me since I got here. I don't know why. It's just a fight between two men. And he been messing with me.
You know how the managers are, Bob Middleman and Stan Hoffman.
Managers like that. My manager's got class. He don't have any. And I told him I'd be the champ of the world.
Okay, you're the champ now, but you almost remain the challenger in the 8th round. You were in big
I
trouble.
wasn't going nowhere, almost nothing. I waited all my life. Let's see Joe Frazier beat Muhammad Ali. I told my mom then I'm going to be heavyweight champ of the world. I didn't grow big enough, but I wasn't going nowhere. Joe Frazier didn't quit when Ali hit him. I wouldn't quit neither.
What is next? Joe, what is next?
Whatever my manager's got for me. Whoever, I don't care. I'm the champ of the world. Ain't nobody beat Joe Manley.
Co-manager Bob Middleman, what would you like to see next?
Could be Meldrick Taylor, could be a Japanese guy that fought Aaron Pryor. There's a few guys that want to fight us, and we're ready for them.
And manager Stan Hoffman holding the child who is named after you. What would you like to see next?
I'd like to see Joe take about 2 days off and go back to Gonzales, Texas, and go beat everybody in the division up.
You trained so hard at Josephine Abercrombie's ranch. What did that training mean to you?
It meant the whole lot to me. I never was so good to save my life. That's exactly what I needed for the fight of my life. Ms. Abercrombie let me have a complete run of her ranch. Everybody was nice to me. I want to thank Chutney Foster.
Congratulations, Joe Manley.
All the guys.
I just got to say something to your manager, Stan Hoffman.
To the Manley family in Lime, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan. I'm champ of the world.
Stan Hoffman told you that the day you won the title, he would shave the beard off. You didn't like it. Here's some shaving cream. Here's a razor pal. I want to see if you live up to your bargain. A champion was born tonight in Joe Louis Manley. Let's go back to ringside and Bruce Beck.
Well, Joe Manley was razor sharp tonight, and he stops Gary Hinton in the rematch in round number 10 and wins his first world title. The IBF Junior Welterweight crown. This is the man that won the Olympic trials in 1980, could not go to the Olympics because of the boycott. Now he's got the world title following the footsteps of Curry and Bumpin. We'll come back. More activities from Hartford, Connecticut Championship. And first of all, Randy, thinking about this fight before tonight, it was a rematch, and certainly Manley wanted to do something. He wanted to go out and set the tempo and be more aggressive. Do you feel he did what essentially the game plan was set out to do?
Yes, there were only a few rounds when he laid back a little bit too much. I think he could have ended this fight a little bit earlier. But as we saw tonight, he was in there against the man who truly wore that champion that right on his heart. That belt belonged to Gary Hinton.
Well, the 10th round, it all happened. There were some dramatic parts to this fight, but the 10th round was indeed the most dramatic as Joe Manley knocks out Gary Hinton.
Well, in the second round, the new champion had Gary Hinton on the floor, but then in the 8th round, Manley was almost out of it. He claims he really wasn't, and that's the finishing touch in the 10th round. A new champion was born tonight in Joe Louis Manley, and I think he's going to be a very exciting champion. Why? Well, there's just so many things outside the ring. This guy goes to colleges, universities, high schools, and so forth. He's totally anti-drug. Kids love him. He's the kind of champion, as was Gary Hinton, that when a young fight fan looks at him and he says, "Mom, I want to be just like that guy," it's just very easy to identify with a guy like Joe Manley.
And a lot of people have to feel good for Manley, because here's a guy that won the Olympic trials in 1980, could not go to the Olympic Games because of the United States boycott in Moscow, and now he is able to do what he wanted to do, which is win a world title. Maybe it is some solace as far as he is concerned.
It really is. Whenever you win a world title, it doesn't matter anything else you've done in your career. But you have to understand that he lost a heartbreaking fight to Gene Hatcher. He lost to Ronnie Shields. And so many times, other managers might have given up on him. But Bob Middleman did not get up. Manager Stan Hoffman was on the phone with him every day. And a lot of people said, Stan Hoffman, you're just too close to your fighter. You're falling in love with your fighter. You can't do that. Stan doesn't care. That's the way Stan is. And tonight, Middleman and Hoffman have themselves a world champion, and a very popular one, very talented one.
All right, we have just about a minute left. What about Gary Hinton now? Where does the former world title holder in the IBF go from here?
Every time he's been in the ring, he's been in a real good fight. He's a real talented fighter. He wasn't hurt tonight. He's going to have himself, well, he'll be a little bit down. But when he watches it back, he knows now that Joe Manley is indeed a world champion. Gary Hinton will take a few months off. He'll be back. If he can just accept the defeat, I think he could one day again become a champion.
One thing's for sure, Gary Hinton has a great deal of heart. Don't forget, coming up on Fight Night, the date is November 6th.